It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Back in the studio here with Glenn Boblitz from Sustainable Living Made Easy. They have a big event. They're partnering with some folks coming up. Can we talk about that just for a minute?
Sure. Bedford County has decided to come up with a little festival in conjunction with their local militia. Their militia is, like I said last week, is not just a fly-by-night militia. It is actually part of their government as a backup to the police department. It's a backup to our military. It is an organized militia, so don't flip out over the word militia. There is some out there that have gotten a bad reputation and caused problems and all that, but they've been weeded out. This is not one of them. This is the good guys. And who are they? It's just your neighbors. So they teamed up with their other neighbors and come up with this Bedford Prepares community event. Now, this thing is for disaster preparation. That's what the whole event's all about. It's to get you more prepared in case something does happen. And I'm not talking about Civil War anymore. I'm talking about it might happen afterwards, but for right now, there's a lot of talk of war all around the world. There's talk about China. We're into a lot of stuff all around the world. All countries are. So it's getting kind of scary. But then there's natural disasters, and that's part of what the militia does. If a hurricane comes through, like it did in Thaxton, Virginia, they just jumped out there and took care of it. But this is starting a conversation in which they want to talk to the people, tell them what's going on, tell them how the county itself will respond if there's a major natural or man-made disaster. So you know what's coming, and that's the whole point, so you're not caught off guard. It's also to have you personally prepared and your family. So there's a lot of vendors that are coming out that are good at prepping, preparing. I mean, that's where the word prepping come from. It's preparation. Okay, that's a no-brainer. So on September 27th at Fallen Creek Park, there'll be classes, demonstrations showing you how to prepare. If you don't know how to can, they'll give you a quick synopsis. I'm teaching a couple classes out there just on priorities. What do I need to do? I hear that from people that just kind of woke up and go, holy crap, I am so far behind. What do I need to do? Well, you need to prioritize. First things first, that kind of thing. And I'm going to have a list that you can go off of, and then it's going to be up to you to go and fill in the blanks. So that's just one. So it starts. I mean,
something simple. I just took a sip of my coffee. Something as simple as your everyday coffee. Could be disrupted. Let's use that word.
Well, what are you going to do if it is? Well, there is alternatives to coffee, chicory and all that kind of. These are wild things that you can actually grow to substitute coffee if you can't get it. Remember, coffee comes from places like Venezuela and Colombia. So, okay, how are you going to even heat it? How are you going to get the water? So those are the kind of things you need to think through when something like this happens, a disaster or just a disruption. I think it was Alaska Airlines had a IP boo-boo, and it shut down their entire airlines for 3 hours. And it was an IP glitch. Well, what if it's a giant hack on, say, our grid, our water system, our communications, all of the above? And I'm not trying to say bad here. I'm just telling you, it's bad, people trying to do these things. So, let's not be foolish here. We're all adults, and we have threats all around us, and they're getting more every day. So you better be prepared for some of them. And Bedford Prepares is a good festival to probably attend. So that's our promotion of that.
Sounds good. What are we talking about today?
Well, we talked a little bit last week about the heat, just kicking butts on my tomato plants and all that kind of stuff, and the heat stress on people's gardens. You know, I've got people saying, I've got tomato plants that are just dying. They will. You know, if they get too stressed out and can't handle it no more, they're crapping out. I've probably got 15 tomato plants just dead.
Wow.
They just couldn't hang. Weaker variety that were not set up for this kind of heat. German Johnson's is one of them that seemed to suffer the most in my garden.
Okay.
They're not built for this kind of heat. It's not that it's a bad plant or a weak plant. It's just a weak variety for heat.
Gotcha.
Now it does very well in cooler temperatures, northern. So
would that maybe be a fall type?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a more northern variety that say people from Pennsylvania up.
Gotcha.
They would have done great, you know, because it's just a little cooler. And there's other varieties that do better in heat. So some of the signs of heat stress on your garden. So if you're experiencing some of these, it's more than likely contributed to heat stress. It's not something you did wrong. Leaf curl. You'll see the edges of the leaf just roll inward. Corn does it too. You know, you'll see them just curl up in hot, dry weather. Corn seems to be doing okay.
Okay.
It kind of likes the heat, you know. That's a variety or a plant species that can handle humid, hot temperatures. So it's doing fairly well. So the leaf curl is just a response to try to conserve energy. That's all it's doing.
Okay.
So it rolls itself in and tries to reduce its surface area so it doesn't lose as much water or cause as much damage. So that's what you're going to see. The stomata of a leaf, and that's on the underside of the leaf, and that's where your plant breathes from.
Okay.
Stomata means mouth in Greek. So it just closes that mouth off so it doesn't lose as much water because it can't. It can't get rid of the water. They know that is a exercise in futility, so they just stop that. Well, when you do that, you also stop the photosynthesis. So things don't grow as well. That's why your plants probably looked all stretched out because they're not producing enough chlorophyll, blah, blah, blah. You will also see these silvery hairs all up and down the stem. Now, I didn't know this for a long time, and because they looked hairy. My plants looked hairy, silvery, almost like spikes. And that is a reflector. How smart is that?
I mean,
they're silver.
Wow.
So it reflects that sun.
Sure.
So if you start to see that, you're saying, okay, this plant is stressing out because it's produced these exothermic hair growths.
Interesting.
Wow. The design here, folks, is just phenomenal. So that protects the leaf stem and all the movements of fluid so it doesn't boil over in this kind of heat anyway.
Okay.
So it's an insulator and reflector.
Interesting.
Plants will tend to deepen their taproot, which is not a bad thing, but that's what they do. They're searching for water. Well, that's typically on a hot, dry season. This season is not like that.
Right. It's the reverse.
This season, there's too much water and too much heat, so it's a double whammy. Too much water is just as bad as not enough. The plant cannot breathe in the root system.
Right.
It needs to uptake oxygen through the roots, and if it's standing in water, it's suffocating. So you can imagine, put your hand over your mouth there for 2 minutes to see how you turn out. You know, same principle here.
Yeah, true.
The plant knows that it's in a stressful time, so it reduces the amount of fruit that it's going to put out or product it's going to put out. So it stops the flower production. The flowers fold up so the bees can't pollinate it.
Right.
Ergo, it's not going to produce a fruit right there.
So this has a
It's a cascading
effect across the whole eco.
Right, because it knows if it tries to put out a fruit, it's going to take too much energy from the plant
Right.
for the survival mode. There's a whole lot of things going on with this plant. It has to grow the reflective hairs, has to
Right.
curl the leaves in, all that, and it's got to get rid of that heat. It don't have time to do fruit production.
Right.
It says, I'm trying to survive. So
Sure.
that's why your plants are looking so pitiful and not getting any decent sized fruit. My wife earlier in the year goes, what is going on? So we started looking at it and go, oh, I see what's happening. So we don't have the tomatoes we've had for 10 years in a row. And that kind of panics my wife. I was like, don't panic.
Yeah.
It's just a cycle we're going through. Hopefully it will work out of it. And by the end of the season, it may pick back up. We got enough time.
Right.
So don't panic. Now, if you get nothing, if you just get little small marble-sized tomatoes, you may want to start searching out for the guy that has a different variety that may have an abundance.
Right.
So this is about going back to your community. You understand this?
Sure.
Going to these fruit and produce auctions. They're happening all over the place. A lot of the Mennonite and Amish farms have these things. There's farmers markets. If you got to team up with a local guy at the farmer market going, hey, I want to buy 5 cases. Or even better, get 3 or 4 families and buy his entire crop for a week. Say, I'll buy everything you got because we have a group.
Right.
And, you know, if he's any kind of man at all, he'll say, I got you. You know, this is what we should be doing more and more and more. Now, if you have that abundance, you should be seeking out them people. Do not let that stuff go to waste.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And a lot of these places in past where you've had so much abundance, they just don't even pick them because they have so many. Now,
They just
if
rot.
you're going, and they just leave them out in the field, especially if they're not perfect ones. You know, if you're a farmer's market, you don't want to bring in a produce that's got little bug bites on them,
Right.
or not a perfect shape, oddball shape. You know,
Sure.
it may look like just a beat up rock, but it's still red. It still will can. So they traditionally will just leave those to go to waste.
Right.
Well, I don't care about that. I don't care that it has a little bug bite on it. I can cut it right out. You
Right,
know?
sure.
Same way with your potatoes. You get these ugly potatoes sometimes just because of the way the ground is, and you just can them anyway.
Right.
But the produce farmer wants the prettiest fruit out there.
Right.
Don't worry about pretty, folks. We're trying to store food. Now, if you're selling that and you have seconds, that's what we're referring to. Number 2s, you know, it's not the number 1 premium. I'll take number 2s all day long. Same way with when we do applesauce and apple cider and do the big apple day over on the farm, we get number 2s. Now, in that batch, you're going to get some really pretty apples because, you know, sometimes they just sneak through. Too big, too small. Those are all seconds. Too big. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Too big.
Florida doesn't allow fruit to go out of their state that's not a uniform size. That's why when you buy oranges, all of them are the same size. But what about the big giant ones? I mean, my aunt's got a few orange trees down in Florida, and she gets these huge ones. That'd be unacceptable. That'd be a number 2.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is great.
At any rate. So team up with these guys. You may be able to get a reduced price. You may be able to do a pick your own and get them dirt cheap because he's going to leave them in the field. Now, there's a lot of people that are growing truck style. Truck style meaning a whole truckload of produce. And they may have the whole bottom 2 acres of their farm and just vegetables. I know a couple of them. And they try to pick premium fruit. But if you come and pick your own, and as long as the guy trusts you to get in his field, making a deal, you could come away with a pretty hefty haul, plus much cheaper. Because the labor is yours
Yeah.
instead of his.
Sure.
I mean, what do you think he's charging you the X number of dollars a pound? Because he had to
Pay somebody.
sweat equity
Yeah,
into,
sure.
into that thing. So, and literally over the past 2 weeks, it's definitely sweat equity.
Yeah.
So as the season goes on with this heat stress, you see the flowers drop. You're gonna see fruit drop. Some of my apple trees are actually dropping fruit right now.
Are they? Okay.
And it's from the past, but we're supposed to have some cooler weather, so maybe they'll quit dropping as many. Tomatoes do the same thing. You just touch a tomato and it falls off. It's half ripe. You go, what happened? Well, it's done made a determination. Nope, can't put any more energy into fruit crop.
Okay.
I need to survive. So it drops that piece of fruit.
Wow.
So don't panic if you see that.
Yeah.
Not only does the heat cause a problem, it also causes a problem with nutrient uptake and water uptake. It's so much stress. It says, I'm going to just kind of shut everything down and just go into survival mode. So all this heat stress, it will affect everything in your garden. One or two things may survive it. One or two things may not. So it's just one of those years. If you do happen to have some tomatoes and it gets hot and dry, you might see tomato scald. That's a white patch on your tomatoes. That's not a disease.
Okay.
That's a sunburn. You know.
Wow.
We're just the opposite. Light-skinned people get a big red patch.
Right,
It's
right.
called a sunburn. Well, theirs are just the opposite. They
Interesting.
turn white. When these plants get like this, they get kind of weak. Now, because of the humidity and the heat is a perfect storm for infections.
Mm-hmm.
So a little sulfur powder down will help from fungus and things getting on your plants.
Okay.
So because they're kind of weak and vulnerable, just like you and I, if you work too hard for too long, you get kind of weak and run down, and next thing you know, you catch every cold and flu bug going around. So it's the same principle.
Yeah.
So kind of keep your eye on it. Keep your leaves and things cleaned up out of your garden. That's where the molds and funguses are going to grow on dead and decaying leaves. So keep that tidy around your plants so you don't get that spreading to the rest of your garden. Bursting fruit. Had some people talk about their tomatoes splitting, and that is just overwatering. Now, you didn't do it. It's just
Right.
the
Nature.
4 o'clock storm coming through,
Right.
dumping a half inch of rain or more. It's just too much water, and it causes all kinds of problems. So bursting fruit is a pretty good sign. Watermelons are notorious for it. You get just a medium hot year, especially in July, and then all of a sudden you get a week of rain. They'll suck up all that water, and then they just burst. It's just too much water.
Yeah.
So that's happening to our watermelon patch as we speak. So hopefully this rain will chill out a little bit so I don't lose all my watermelons. So how can you do anything about all this? Well, a little extra work. Shade cloths. They make a cloth looks like landscape fabric, only it's white and it's kind of thin. Almost like a cotton muslin. Well, you just drape it over your plants. Only do it on one side though, and that would be the western side that's where you're oriented, and that'll keep some of that hot sun off of it, and allow the plant to keep up with the temperature a lot better, because the white's going to reflect some of that sunlight and won't make it quite so hot. You don't want to cover the entire plant up and make a tent out of it, because that doesn't allow air movement. So one way.
And just as we're talking and last week and this week and everything, it's like our plants are getting extremes. They're getting oversoaked and they're getting overheated. It's
Everything is extreme.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And, there's conspiracy going, they're manipulating the weather. Oh, bull crap. They're not manipulating. Who would do that? Well, there's a bill on the floor right now that says you can no longer spray chemtrails or manipulate the weather. You go, wait a minute.
Yeah, I saw.
I thought you said that we weren't. Now,
Well, there was a controversy over the flooding in Texas that the chemtrail stuff was going on.
cloud seeding and this aluminum that they're putting. what are you doing, people? Not people, government.
Government, right.
Now, who is doing this and why are they doing this? And if we find out it's to take us out, I think that's kind of treasonous to me, but that's a whole nother story.
Sure.
So that's where we're at there. So moving on to something else, we're just talking about prepping in general. I can't believe it's been 5 years that we've been doing this kind of stuff, and I've been teaching classes and all that. It used to be that it was kind of, I don't know, outer edge kind of stuff. When you say, I'm a prepper. Well, now they go, you're a prepper? Oh, can you help me with this? Before it was, oh, you're a prepper. He's one of them. Yes, I am. But it wasn't started out as some end of the world apocalypse thing. It started out because I didn't like what I was getting from the store. Was not nutritious. It didn't taste good. So that's how I started prepping. I canned my own stuff. That's all there was to it. Doing it like I did when I was a kid. Our parents always did that. And wasn't because we were cool. It's because we were poor. 6 kids, you have to feed them.
Yeah.
You're a prepper. I don't care who you are. So in saying that, now it's kind of come back around that it's mainstream, and it's more than just mainstream. I mean, when counties start having festivals that say Bedford prepares, here's your sign, folks.
Yeah.
There's something going on that maybe you ought to look a little closer. In fact, you ought to be digging in and really boning up on the priorities of life, just water, food, shelter. And the list goes on from there. So prepping has become a pretty hot topic. I mean, there's public service announcements that you should have 30 days of food. It started out having 2 weeks or 3 days, Now we're up to 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Wow, something's changing. And it's just the threats that are increasing.
Yes.
That's what it is. So you have to react to that, Now, if you're in a position where you can't grow things, you can't do some of the things that we're talking about or have the ability to grow things because they don't have land. It's hard for somebody to raise a pig in an apartment.
Yeah.
Although it'd be funny if you could get away with it. But there's all these skills that go along with growing your own food. You may not have those skills, have the ability, have the land to do it, so you're going to have to find out somebody that does.
Right.
There's also a secondary thing you can do, and that is to buy food that is long-term storage. One of the big things was back during COVID was beans and ammo because everybody was scared to death we were going into Civil War, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Okay, well, the beans things is good. It is a buffer that gives you time to get organized. So buying long-terms and dried foods and canned foods that are already prepared and making sure that you can store them properly. A little bit of technique to that. Now, it's hard to buy 1 pound items of, say, beans, rice, legumes, which are beans, and store them properly because bugs will get in them. So you have to have a little background on how to do that properly. So, the storage containers that I recommend are the HDPE, high-density polyethylene plastics. And it'll say right on the bottom, bucket, container, I don't care what it is. Tupperware is HDPE, food grade.
All right.
So you're going to still have to have a little knowledge with that. How do I store, 50 pounds of beans? Well, it's going to be hard for you to store 50 pounds of beans in a 50-pound jug or container. Break it down. You can put them in Mylar bags. You might want to research that. Oxygen absorbers, what are those? They pull the oxygen out so your food lasts much longer without the oxygen. It won't rot or won't degrade. So there's a lot of little things, even though that you're living in an apartment, can't do all things, you can still store a lot of food.
Just what about dry beans? Dried peas and those
Sure.
kinds of things.
Now,
And the plastic that they come in, is that biodegradable over time?
it is not meant to store long term.
Okay.
That bag is to keep bugs out temporarily.
Okay.
Beans are hard, so if you start stacking them, they get little pinholes in them, and little bugs get in them.
They
like
find
a
a
little
way.
wheat moth, you see them. So those kind of things, and there's certain foods that are just not going to store for very long. Everybody's going, well, I'll buy 20 boxes of macaroni and cheese. Well, it's got an oil in it that is not going to store well.
Right.
A year maybe, if it's stored properly, cool, dry place. So that's not your best option. It is a option. You could have a little bit of that and use it up, and you have to have an inventory control system where first in, first out.
Right.
You put it in April, you should probably be eating it in July or August, and then replace it. So the people that say, I can't do it, I just don't have space. Well, yes, you can. You're just being lazy. Now, you may have to convert one of your closets
that's what I was just thinking, was a closet.
into an extra pantry. All the big farmhouses from the 50s and 60s had a huge walk-in pantry. Farms had more children back then, so you needed that. But they didn't have all the supplies and availability that we have now.
Right.
The instant gratification of just going to Food Line or Walmart and buying everything you need every week. Well, that may go away. We're starting to see empty shelves now just because of the shortages. And the instant time deliveries are not the same either. Trucking industry is messed up. It really is. So deliveries are not coming in on a timely manner like they should. So U.S. food...
it's like, we personally both know, our friend Todd Ramsey.
Yeah.
He says, look, Mark, I order 10 cases and hope I get 3.
Right.
And that is a local, he's one of the few local, grocery stores now. And he's got his finger on the pulse because he's trying to get product into his store.
And it's not just one store, folks. They're all suffering through this. I have some friends that work for Food Line, and they go, it's a guessing game what's going to come in on a truck. And it used to be your distributor would send you an email saying, here it comes, and this is what's on the truck.
Right.
And they go, we'll try to fill your order, and that's the best we can do.
Right.
And it goes through the entire industry, including into other industries. I do electrical work, and sometimes it takes 8-9 weeks to get a part of something that I need. And they go, we don't know when it's coming in.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's kind of scary because my customer wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this kind of stuff is really disheartening. But fear not, stay steady. And it's back to community.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a circle of friends and family that are all kind of doing this and trying to get a little more prepared, my gosh, trade information. Hey, I found this over here. Would you want me to get me? We've bought hundreds of pounds of beans and rice, grains, and then put it out because I know darn good well my group's big enough to handle that. Who wants a 50-pound bag of wheat berries? Who wants, a 50-pound bag of brown beans? Well, that's a big order right there. But if 3 families split that up, then it's easier to deal with. But the fact that you can get it at a decent price and don't have to pay an exorbitant amount by the pound because you bought a 50-pound bag, you just have to be able to store it. That's it.
Yeah.
Have a bean filling party where everybody gets in a little line and one person dips it out, weighs it, the next one puts it in the bag, the next one seals it up and puts it in the bucket.
Yeah.
It'd be smart to do that.
Yeah.
there is a trend of doing emergency food buckets. Now, I talked about this probably 10 years ago, all the way up through today, about just putting buckets, which is about 60 pounds of food, dried foods, storing it in case something major happened. Tree falls on your house,
right?
But you still need food.
Sure.
You grab that bucket, and that was enough food to about last you a month because it's all dried stuff. Now you're going to need a way to cook it,
right?
And the water to cook it with, right? Water's real important here, folks. That's a whole nother subject, that I've been preaching on for a long time. Is where's your water coming from? You need to solve that problem pretty quick.
Let's take a break here because I want to talk to you about water just briefly. If we get water, how we're supposed to store it. We're with Glenn Ballblitz. This is Sustainable Living Made Easy.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
You say jam?
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
We're back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Ballblitz. Be sure to look for Sustainable Living on Facebook for even more information and follow-up conversations with other members. Now, here's your host, Mark Lamb.
We're back with Glenn, and right before the break, I asked about water because water is crucial. You can have all this stuff that's dried and ready to go, but if you don't have water to, rehydrate it, you're going to be eating crunchy noodles.
It's hard to eat a brown bean that is still dry.
That's right.
It just is. The old people always soaked their beans, and it just made a better pot of beans.
Yeah.
Well, soaked it in water, folks.
Yeah. Well, two things about the water. Let's say I'm buying the gallons.
Right.
And I'm going to store them long term. A long time ago during Y2K, I was under the impression that like a drop or two of bleach in a gallon of water could make it keep longer. And also some of these filters that you hear about that you can put 100,000 gallons, that's outrageous, but I saw one that said you could filter 100,000 gallons of water with this little filter.
Some of this is hype. I prefer you do the research, trust but verify.
Right.
Some of the things are out there for filtering water are just plain hype. There's certain principles that you got to follow when you talk about filtering. It must have coarse filtering, medium filtering, and micro filtering. Now, none of those are going to get rid of bacteria. The bacteria are too small. They'll go right through any type of filter. So you may get all the leaf particles out of it or organic materials, and even some heavy metals can be filtered out. But the biological stuff, viruses and that things are not going to be filtered out. So you have to have a way to kill those. And as you said, bleach, but it's actually the chlorine in the bleach that does that. So
are chlorine tablets better then?
Well, it's chlorine tablets are just concentrated. It's just bleach without the water in it.
Okay.
The liquid type bleach you get, Clorox, it just makes it convenient to pour rather than dropping a tablet in and waiting for it to dissolve, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yes, and they all have instruction pack on how to use it, how much it'll disinfect, and the stirring that you must do to make sure it's been dissolved throughout your container. But you were asking about gallon jugs. Unless it's a HDPE jug, and it better say that on the bottom, it's not made for long-term storage.
Okay.
It is just a larger quantity in a plastic jug. Now, some of these plastic jugs we've all heard of will start leaching out the chemicals that was made from that plastic.
Right.
So you need to know what you're buying.
Sure.
Now you can buy plastic jugs and transfer stuff over. I've heard of people canning water, just like you would can green beans, can the water. That seems like
Okay.
a waste of a jar to me, but there's better ways of doing it. You can take a 55-gallon food grade barrel, and that's 55 gallons of water, at a quarter cup of bleach. Now,
Okay.
let me say something about bleach. Some of them have a perfume put in them to make them smell a little better. I mean, bleach is pretty potent stuff and kind of potent to the nose. So they put a perfume in them. Do not buy that bleach and put that in your water. It has to be unscented. Unscented. You can also buy, as you said, the chlorine tablets and use those. Just follow the instructions. Now, I did a test, this is probably 5 years ago, just so I can prove to myself before I put it out that it will be fit to drink.
Okay.
So I did a 3-month study, looked at it, pulled my microscope. Yes, I have a microscope. And looked for bacteria and that kind of thing. 'Cause this
Okay.
thing goes down to 4,000 power, which I can see
Wow.
every bug in it. Nothing. I actually tasted that water, and it was just as clean, and I have well water, just as clean as if it come out of the ground
Okay.
fresh. So, and the chlorine taste is not even noticeable, to tell you the truth. And it had been in there for 3 months. So I said, okay, we're going to do 6 months. We're going to do a year. So after a year, I was like, now I'm getting skeptical. So I put it under the microscope each time, and it still come out clean. I'm thinking, this is what people need to know. So I said, well, I'll just leave this barrel and continued to experiment up to 2 years. Now, after 2 years, I dumped the barrel because the water started to taste flat. It wasn't tasting bad. It just didn't taste as good as I thought it should. There was no bacteria in it, and it just tasted flat, lifeless almost. So, if you could store 2 years worth of water in these barrels, I'm thinking, wow, that gets you way ahead. Now, if you can't come up with a solution in 2 years, you're probably not trying. But it's good to have, If I'd have kept that barrel, I'd have just added more bleach. And 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, it wouldn't matter. If you don't have any other way to get water because the crap has hit the fan and there's grids down, there's no electricity, all that, and you find a barrel of water that's fit to drink, you can be a happy camper. So that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want you to have to worry about something so essential as water when it can be done.
Right.
It can be done,
These
folks.
big square poly-looking things
The
with the
poly
metal.
tanks, they're like 200 and, well, it depends on which one you get, 211 up to 275. That is a boatload of water.
Right.
But they must be a food grade. They must have that HDPE or it's just not going to work.
Right.
You can't store them outside. And
Oh, you can't?
No, because sunlight will get in.
Ah.
Now, if sunlight gets in, it starts to degrade the chlorine. It doesn't keep it as fresh.
Okay.
And if air gets in it, because there's bacteria in the air, you'll get algae in it because the little spores are in the air.
Right.
So it has to be sealed up. It ought to be in a cool place in the dark, even if you have to just make a cover. If you got windows in your basement, and I have no dark place to put that, put a cover over it.
Okay.
Just keep the sunlight out of it. So there's a lot of information out there on what I'm telling you, and you really ought to start researching this stuff heavy. Get off of Facebook. Quit, wasting your time with that stuff when there's more important things you should be doing. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you what to do. You can look around and see the crap's coming.
Yeah.
If a storm's coming, you probably ought to close your windows.
Yeah.
If crap's coming, you probably ought to have a secondary source of water. Make it happen. There's all kinds of ways to get water. If
I was thinking off your roof. Let's say you have asphalt shingles.
that's not the best option. It is
Okay.
a option. If I was going to rank it from 1 to 10, that's probably a 7.
Okay.
Because your roof has all kind of bacteria on it.
Right.
It's in the air. So when it comes down off your shingles, there's asphalt in your shingles. That's coming too. Little
Right.
small particles. That's why the filtration is so serious. You'd have to really filter that water. Then you would have to boil it. If you have open sources of water, and that's what it is. A stream is an open source. A spring is an open source. All open source water should really be boiled, and that's to kill off any bacteria or anything that's in that water. And I do mean boil it. It has to be a hard boil for 3 minutes. That's a lot of energy to boil your water. Having a well is a much better option. That's a closed source.
Right.
Town water is a closed source. They treat it, goes through a tank, goes into a tank, and then it goes through pipes. There's not much opportunity for bacteria to get in there. Plus, it's treated. It's treated with chlorines.
Right.
So the closed sources are much better.
Okay.
But if you had to, yeah, man. I mean, if you're out of water, you're out of water.
Sure.
And it's life-sustaining. As I say, you can only do about 3 days without water.
Yeah.
How much? How much water do you need? About 3 quarts a day if you're just doing normal stuff. Well, if crap hits fan,
Well, you're not
nothing's
gonna be
gonna
doing- right, you're not gonna be doing normal
Yeah,
anymore.
you're going to be working your butt off.
Right.
So it's a gallon or more. Anybody that's spent time in the military and especially combat guys, they may go through 2 gallons of water in a day because they're working hard and sweating, and you need that replacement.
Yeah.
Without it, you're in trouble. Speaking of trouble, is when you sweat, you're losing salt. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, our food supply is laden with salt. That's why you don't have to take salt tablets.
Right.
But that's going to change if the crap hits the fan. You're going to be eating foods that is not saturated in salt, so you're going to need some salt. Salt preserves. Salt preserves a lot of food, so it may be a good thing for you to store some salt. In fact, I'm pretty sure you probably should store a couple 100 pounds of salt, just because all the canning books you'll ever read,
Right.
yeah, salt's in there. If you're going to can any kind of meats or deal with any kind of meats, preserve any kind of meats, lots of salt. So that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
And the list could be so endless. People just go, it's too much. It's too much.
Right.
That's why I'm doing a priorities lesson at this festival we're doing. I'm going to give you a priority list. If you get your priority list going, you can start adding to it. You can't eat an elephant all in one bite.
Right.
You just have to eat him one bite at a time, and that's
Sure.
what that priority list is going to give you, what's important to
Yeah.
you, just to sustain you. And it's a pretty detailed list that's going to expand exponentially.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the program.
Exactly.
Sustainable Living Made Easy.
That's what it's all about. I mean, is it going to be perfect? No.
Yeah.
And if you have extra and your neighbor doesn't, and he has something extra that you don't, well, what's that tell you?
Yeah.
That is a tradable item.
Sure.
And I'm really want people to go more community. Here's something I seen the other day, and this is way off the subject here, but it was a black man, and he says, "I'm not mad at you. Don't be mad at me." Now, that was a shocking little advertisement.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yeah.
He said, "Come talk to me." And he was just an average black guy.
Yeah.
Older man, probably 50 years old.
My mentor does that.
Right.
He will see somebody that's African American, let's say in a restroom at Lowe's, and he has a similar phrase, and it opens up a dialogue. There is a whole industry of people pitting people against people.
Right.
So don't
fall for it,
Yeah,
folks.
don't fall for it.
Well, I wish they would run those type of ads every day,
Right.
all day,
Yep.
instead of the rest of the crap we're seeing.
Yes, exactly.
You're going to figure out that we're all in this together.
Yeah, we are.
I grew up around Baltimore, so there was every ethnicity you could think of.
Right.
I have no issue with anybody.
Right.
Unless they have an issue with me.
Mm-hmm.
If they're treating me bad, they're going to treat it bad back. And that's,
Right.
that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
But I don't care what color your skin is. I've worked outside in the sunshine for my whole life doing construction, and I'll guarantee I'm darker than most ethnicity people out there. So
You do have a nice tan, by the way.
So don't tell me it's about the skin color
Yeah.
or I'm one of them.
Right.
Okay, I'm not white. White's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I'm just well tanned.
There you go.
And some people are more tanned than I am. Some people have a natural tan. Okay, that's what they are. They have a natural tan. Okay, big deal.
Yeah.
But if they're treating you good, why wouldn't you treat them good back?
Sure.
On the flip side, don't come to me and be mean to me and expect me to do anything for you just because of the color of your skin. That means nothing to me.
Right.
It's how you treat me.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be treating everybody. But it goes back to the community. You're going to find that people are all the same.
Yeah.
Bad people and good people.
Yeah.
Team up with the good people.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, if people want to know about this event coming up, they can actually go back to the beginning of our podcast. You give quite a bit of detail. Just before we wrap up here, just give us the time and date one more time. And I know we're going to be talking about it here in the weeks
I'm going to
ahead.
talk about this until it's done and over with, and then I hope we talk about it from now on.
Yeah.
All right, it's September 27th at Fallen Creek Park. That's in Bedford County. Real easy to find. It'll be from 9 to 5, and I'm pretty sure 9 to 5. And you need to come out. There's a lot of good classes, and if nothing else, you will meet your community and meet the people that are growing your food within your community, which is huge. And they know people that are doing other things in your community, and it's community, because we're all going to need each other if something bad happens.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to be key,
Yeah.
So come out and visit us.
Well, thank you, Glenn. We look forward to talking to you next week.
All right.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.